chat about cellular respiration and photosynthesis. First off, both cellular respiration and photosynthesis are things that happen in cells. Cellular respiration happens in both plant cells and animal cells. Then photosynthesis only happens in plant cells, which we'll talk about soon. Let's talk about cellular respiration first. In order for cellular respiration to happen, you have to have two things for the cell. You must have glucose. Glucose is a fancy name for sugar. You must also have oxygen. Often, oxygen is written as this, O2. Again, glucose is a fancy name for sugar. O2 is a fancy name for oxygen. Animal cells get glucose from the organism eating and oxygen from the organism breathing. The glucose and the oxygen enter the cell through the cell membrane and go to something called the mitochondria. This is the mitochondria. It's the place where cellular respiration happens. It turns glucose and oxygen into lots of energy. I'm going to put all these big rays around this cell because that represents energy. The cell uses this energy to do things like grow and reproduce. Then, typically, the cell lets out carbon dioxide along with some heat and some water. And that's what we breathe out right here. Now, plant cells also use glucose and oxygen for cellular respiration. And they put those two ingredients inside the mitochondria, just like we do. The only problem is plants can't eat to get their glucose, and of course they can't breathe to get their oxygen. So they have to actually make their own glucose and oxygen in something called the chloroplast. This right here is the chloroplast. It's the spot that does something called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process that takes in three main ingredients from outside the cell. It takes in sunlight, which I have drawn here. It takes in water, which is often written as H2O. And it also takes in carbon dioxide, which is often written as CO2. So plant cells take in sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide through the cell wall, through the cell membrane, and into the chloroplast. The chloroplast turns these three items, these three ingredients, into a form of chemical energy or sugar right here. The mitochondria takes that sugar and the oxygen that photosynthesis creates and makes, guess what? Energy. I'll put a bunch of lines all the way around energy just like before. So as you can see, both plant cells and animal cells generate energy for the cell to use through cellular respiration inside the mitochondria. Here's the mitochondria here. Here's the mitochondria here. The plant cells just need a chloroplast to create its own glucose and oxygen through photosynthesis. There you go. That's the process of cellular respiration in plant and animal cells and photosynthesis in plant cells.